Mary Harper stepped into the towering glass building of Linmore Corporation just after 8 a.m., wearing a plain blue blouse tucked into dark jeans and dusty brown boots. She didn't belong there, at least not by the standards of the people who worked on the top floor. As she walked through the polished lobby, conversations slowed, eyes followed her and whispers spread like wildfire. Some thought she was lost. Others assumed she was delivering something. No one thought she was there to attend the most important board meeting of the quarter. At the security desk, she gave her name quietly. The guard checked his list twice, then raised an eyebrow, but waved her through. As she rode the elevator to the 28th floor, Mary felt every bit of her father's voice echoing in her mind. "Don't ever apologize for where you come from. Just make sure you know where you're going." She straightened her shoulders and stepped out as the doors opened. The boardroom was already full. Executives in designer suits sipped espresso, reviewed investor portfolios, and scrolled through emails on sleek tablets. No one looked up when Mary entered. One of them glanced briefly at her boots and smirked. Another whispered loud enough to be heard, "Did someone leave the service entrance open?" Mary said nothing. She walked to the far end of the table, where there were no assigned seats, and stood silently, holding a worn leather binder in her hands. Her posture was calm, but her heart was pounding. A junior executive leaned toward another and asked with mock concern, "Should we get her directions to housekeeping?" The room laughed softly, unaware that the moment they were all waiting for was already unfolding. Then the glass door opened again. Douglas Chase, CEO and founder of Linmore Corporation, walked in with his usual confident stride. The chatter stopped. Everyone sat up straighter. Chase was known for his sharp instincts, his no-nonsense leadership, and his cold reading of people. But this time, instead of walking to the head of the table, he stopped right in front of Mary. A hush fell over the room. With a warm smile, he extended his hand and said, "Welcome, Mary. I'm glad you made it." He turned to the stunned board members and continued, "Everyone, allow me to introduce Mary Harper. Her family owned the land our first factory was built on. 10 years ago, her father traded land rights for equity in this company. Quietly, wisely. And today, Mary inherits those shares, and more. She now holds 60% of the voting power in this room." The shock was instant. Several mouths dropped open, chairs shifted. The junior exec who mocked her dropped his pen. Mary gave a small nod. "Good morning," she said quietly. "I'm here to listen first." She took a seat at the head of the table, the chair once reserved for Douglas himself. The CEO gave her the floor. No one objected. No one laughed now. Mary's presence said more than any speech ever could. She hadn't come to flaunt power or prove anyone wrong. She had come to lead, not with flash, but with the quiet strength of someone who never forgot where she came from and who had waited for the right moment to reveal who she truly was. The silence in the boardroom lingered long after Mary took her seat. No one dared make another joke. The junior executive who had mocked her earlier kept his eyes down, his earlier smugness replaced with visible discomfort. The woman in boots had turned out to be the most powerful person in the room, not by accident, but by legacy, strategy, and something far rarer in boardrooms: humility. Mary opened the binder and began laying out documents on the table. Land agreements, shareholder letters, and correspondence from former silent partners who had entrusted their stakes to her after years of quiet relationships. She didn't need a lawyer to explain them, didn't need a slideshow or a clicker. Every paper was in order, every share was accounted for. Her voice, when she spoke, was calm and assured. "My father believed in this company before it was ever on the map. He gave land when he could have taken cash. He told me one day it would grow into something bigger than he could ever build alone. He was right. But he also said not to let anyone tell you your dirt-stained boots mean you don't belong in a room." One of the board members, a seasoned executive named Harmon, cleared his throat. "With respect, Ms. Harper, it's highly unusual for someone with no formal business background to lead," she interrupted gently, raising an eyebrow. I understand your concern, but leadership doesn't start in classrooms. It starts in fields, on long nights, in quiet decisions that no one notices until the results speak for themselves. The CEO, Douglas Chase, leaned forward, a faint smile on his face. Harmon, you've been in this room for 12 years. I've seen what you bring to the table. But Mary's been watching this company grow from the outside, understanding it without ever needing a quarterly report. Sometimes clarity comes from the ground up. Mary didn't gloat. She listened to every question they asked her, about policy, about vision, about where she saw Linmore going next, and each time her answers were steady. She talked about sustainability, new investment in rural innovation, and a leadership model that valued respect over rank. Her ideas weren't flashy, but they were smart, practical, and rooted in real life. By the end of the meeting, the mood had completely shifted. The board no longer saw a farmer's daughter. They saw a leader with deep roots and long-range vision, one who wouldn't be bullied, bribed, or distracted by ego. As the others left the room, one of the older board members stayed behind. He approached Mary slowly, nodding toward her boots. "My father worked in a coal mine," he said quietly. "He would have liked you." Mary smiled, a little surprised. "Thank you, that means a lot." When she exited the building later that afternoon, the same people who had whispered about her that morning now watched her in silence. Some looked apologetic, others looked inspired, but no one doubted who she was anymore. Outside, a black sedan waited, but before she got in, Mary looked up at the towering building one more time. Not with awe, but with quiet satisfaction. She hadn't come to change the world in a day. She came to remind it that strength doesn't always look like a polished shoe or a silk tie. Sometimes it walks in wearing boots and carrying a binder full of promises kept. And sometimes the people you laugh at on Monday are the ones who chair the table by Friday.